Hello friends, welcome to this channel Unique Identity. I think all you are going well and your preparation is also going well. And I think all you have seen my previous videos for PSC Assistant Engineer or Junior Engineer exam and SSC JE. I have given some chapters for environmental engineering and one chapter for fluid mechanics. Okay. If you have not seen my previous videos, please go to my playlist and watch the video so that you will be benefited. Okay. And I am creating gist for some subject for you so that you don't need to read the textbook. Okay. And watching this video and taking note, you will easily crack competitive exam as I am giving only important topics. Today I will discuss about environmental engineering, water supply engineering chapter 7 and purification of water supplies part 2. In my previous video I have given part 1 and in this video I am giving part 2. So please watch it carefully and take note, and if you have not subscribed my channel till now, please subscribe my channel so that you will get the notification for the upcoming videos. Okay, so let's start environmental engineering, and this is a water supply engineering chapter 7 and purification of water supply part 2. Okay, so this is method for purification of water. What are the method? Screening, plain sedimentation, sedimentation added with coagulation and filtration. These topics were discussed in my last class. Okay, so if you have till now have not seen my last class, please see it. Okay, and today I will discuss about disinfection, aeration and softening. That will be today's topic. Okay, so let's start about today's first topic, that is disinfection or sterilization. The filtered water obtained from slow or rapid send filter may normally contain some harmful bacteria in it. Okay, the chemicals used for the killing these bacteria are known as disinfectant. So as you have seen that before this disinfection it was filtration. Okay, so it was rapid send filter and slow send filter. So water was filtered from the slow send and rapid send filter, and that water generally contains some harmful bacteria. So this bacteria should be removed. So for removing that bacteria, we use some chemical to kill the bacteria. Those chemicals are known as disinfectant, and the process is known as disinfection or sterilization. The main process for sterilization or disinfection is chlorination. Chlorine has been found to be best and most ideal disinfectant. Okay. Its only disadvantage is when it is used in greater amount, it imparts bitter and bad taste to the water. Okay. So in this topic we will discuss about detail in chlorination. Okay. Now see, disinfecting action of chlorine. When chlorine is added to water, it forms hypochlorous acid and hypochlorite ion. Okay. So first, when pH is greater than 5, then Cl2 plus H2O gives the product of HOCl plus HCl. That means hypochlorous acid plus hydrochloric acid. This hypochlorous acid is unstable and may break into hydrogen ion and hypochlorite ion. Okay. So when pH is greater than 8, then this HOCl breaks into H plus and OCl minus. And when this pH is again less than 7, then again H plus and OCl minus combines and create HOCl. Okay. So I have given the description that thus at pH value greater than 10, only OCl minus ions are found. This OCl minus hypochlorite ions are found. While in pH value less than 7 but more than 5, HOCl will generally exist without dissociating into OCl ion. That means hypochlorite ion. Okay. And in the pH range below 5, chlorine does not react and remains as elemental chlorine. Okay. So to make hypochlorous acid, always pH should be greater than 5. Okay. Now here I have given one liner that the sum of the hypochlorous acid and hypochlorite ion and molecular chlorine existing in a sample of water is termed as free available chlorine. Okay. So these are all the forms of free available chlorine: hypochlorous acid, hypochlorite ion and molecular chlorine. Second one liner is very important. Out of these, the hypochlorous acid is the most destructive, being about 80 times more effective than hypochlorite ion. Okay. So this hypochlorous acid is more effective in destructing the bacteria, about 80 times than the hypochlorite ion. You just remember it and note it down. Okay. Now, whenever the chlorine will immediately react with this ammonia to form different chloramines. Here I am giving the detailed description that when pH value is greater than 7.5, then NH3 plus HOCl gives monochloramine, that means NH2Cl plus H2O. And whenever pH range is 5 to 6.5, then this NH2Cl again react with HOCl and produces NaCl2, that means dichloramine plus H2O. Okay. And again, when the pH range is below 4.4, this NaCl2 plus HOCl gives the product of NCl3, that means nitrogen trichloramine plus H2O. Mind it that when pH is kept slightly less than 7, dichloramine is the most predominant. Okay. So this is the most predominant case, as maximum cases pH is 5 to 6.5. Here all the chloramines are formed as stable and found to possess these disinfecting properties. Okay. Next, in general, most of the waters are satisfactorily disinfected if the free chlorine residual is about 0.2 mg per liter, that is 10 minutes after the chlorine is applied. Okay. Here I am giving a data for the free chlorine residual, that is 0.2 mg per liter, that is 10 minutes after the chlorine is applied. That is one liner. Next, various forms in which chlorine can be applied. Okay. First is as free chlorine. As free chlorine in the form of liquid chlorine or chlorine gas. Here no description is needed, that's why I am giving just one line. Next is use of hypochlorite and bleaching powder. When such a hypochlorite is dissolved in water, it dissociates to form calcium plus ion and hypochlorite ion. Okay. And this hypochlorite ion may further combine with hydrogen plus ion to form hypochlorous acid. Okay. As we previously discussed, that whenever pH is less than 7, then it forms HOCl minus, and whenever pH greater than 8, then HUCl again breaks into OCl minus plus H plus. Okay. This process is known as hypochlorination. Now, listen carefully. That commercially available hypochlorite, that is called also high test chloride, that means HTH or perchlorone. This term you should remember, that what term is used for commercially available calcium hypochlorite. The terms are high test chloride, HTH or perchlorone. Generally contains 60% to 70% of available chlorine. Mind it, it is not 100%. The percentage is 60% to 70% of available chlorine. Okay. Now there are another form for combined chlorine, as I am giving you, that as free chlorine this is liquid chlorine and chlorine gas, and as combined chlorine use of hypochlorite and bleaching powder, and another example is use of chlorine tablet, use of chloramines and use of carbon dioxide gas. Actually you should know only the terms. For PSC AEG or SSC JEE there is no required for the detailed description of these topics. That's why I am giving you only the names to have a concept just. Okay. Next is very important, the types of chlorination and their definition. You should have clear concept about different type of chlorination, because in the examination and in the interview you may be asked all these definition. Okay. So please remember and take a note. First is plain chlorination. By definition you can understand that it indicates that only the chlorine treatment is done and no other treatment has been performed to the raw water. Okay. So in plain chlorination only the chlorine treatment is performed, no other treatment has been done. In pre-chlorination it is the process of applying chlorine to the water before filtration or rather before sedimentation coagulation. Okay, that is pre-chlorination. By definition you can easily understand that before filtration or rather before sedimentation coagulation this chlorine is applied to water. And post-chlorination also by definition you can understand that it is a normal standard process of applying chlorine in the end when all other treatment had been completed. Okay. So when all the other treatment has been completed, then only chlorination is done. That term is used as post-chlorination. Next is double chlorination. By definition you can easily understand that it is used to indicate that the water has been chlorinated twice. That means once pre-chlorination and then again post-chlorination. That's why it is double chlorination. Next is breakpoint chlorination. It is very much important. Okay. Please note down it. It represents that much dose of chlorination beyond which any further addition of chlorine will appear as free residential chlorine. Okay. So it is a term which gives us an idea of the extent of chlorine added to water, because beyond this breakpoint chlorination any further addition of chlorine will appear as free residual chlorine. Here in the graph I have drawn it. You can understand that in the x-axis this is applied chlorine in milligram per liter, and here is residual chlorine, this is also milligram per liter, and this is the chlorination is being added, and here this is the breakpoint chlorination. Okay, and this line is added. Any addition of chlorine appear equally 45° free residual chlorine. That means it is same as the free residual chlorine. Okay, and this red line, this red dotted line is the imaginary line which will appear when there is no chlorine consumption. That means pure water. then this red water, that means this red line is indicated by this. Okay, and here C is the breakpoint line. Next is superchlorination. What is this? It indicates the addition of excessive amount of chlorine. Why we are adding excessive chlorine? This may be required in some special cases of highly polluted water or during epidemics of waterborne diseases. Okay, then superchlorination is required. And last one is dechlorination. By definition, you are understanding that it means removing the chlorine from water. Okay, this is generally required when superchlorination has been practiced, because by superchlorination extra chlorine has been added, so that extra chlorine should be removed from that water. So then dechlorination is being done. The common dechlorinating agents are, and you should remember this name, because in competitive exams this term will be asked. Okay, sulfur dioxide, activated carbon, sodium thiosulfate, that means Na2H2O3, sodium metabisulfate, that means Na2H2O5, sodium sulfite, Na2SO3, and ammonia as NH4OH. Okay, so please remember the common name for the common dechlorinating agents. Okay, next is one liner is there, that is what is chlorine demand. Chlorine demand is the difference between the applied chlorine and the residual chlorine. Okay, now I have mentioned only the testing of chlorine residual. Okay, the name has been mentioned here because detailed description for the competitive exam is not at all required. You just only identify these tests, that which are tests being performed for testing of chlorine residuals. Okay, so you should identify this. That is only, that means that is why I am only mentioning the name, not I am discussing in detail. Okay, if you want to know in detail, then you can consult textbook or any other material or internet, but for the time being and for the general purpose, for the competitive exam, only mention the name is sufficient. Okay, so orthotoluene test, DPD test, chlorotex test, and starch iodide test. So all these 4 tests are done for testing of chlorine residuals. Okay, now next is for water purification, that is water softening. By name or by definition, you can understand that the reduction of removal of hardness from water is known as water softening. You got the point? The reduction or the removal of hardness from water is known as water softening. Okay. Now the methods of removing temporary hardness. As you all know that we discussed also in our previous lecture that there are 2 types of hardness. One is temporary hardness, one is permanent hardness. Temporary hardness are the carbonate or bicarbonate hardness, that means caused by the carbonate or bicarbonate of calcium and magnesium. Okay, and permanent hardness, that is caused by the chloride, sulfate, or another of calcium and magnesium ion. Okay, now first we are discussing about the method of removing for temporary hardness. First one is boiling. Okay, as you all know that calcium carbonate being highly soluble will usually exist in water and calcium bicarbonate. Okay, because it is easily dissolved in natural water containing carbon dioxide. When such water is boiled, that means heat is applied on this water, then calcium carbonate will be precipitated and carbon dioxide gas will be emitted. Mind it, as I previously told you also in a previous lecture, that by this boiling, magnesium carbonate and magnesium bicarbonate cannot be removed by boiling. Okay, so for this magnesium carbonate and magnesium bicarbonate, second process, that means second process of removing temporary hardness, that is addition of lime is being applied. Okay, that is magnesium carbonate plus calcium hydroxide, that gives us magnesium hydroxide, that is being precipitated, plus CaCO3. Okay, that is insoluble. Now magnesium bicarbonate plus CaOH whole 2, that will gives us calcium bicarbonate plus MgOH whole 2, that will be precipitate. Okay, again this calcium bicarbonate plus calcium hydroxide, that gives us calcium carbonate, that will be precipitated at last, plus 2H2O. Okay, this calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide are precipitated and can be removed in the sedimentation tank. Okay, this method generally adopted for softening water which contain only temporary hardness. Okay, now we will discuss method for removing permanent hardness. Okay, there are three methods: lime soda process, base exchange process, and demineralization process. First, we are discussing about lime soda process. Okay, so in this process, lime, that means calcium hydroxide, and soda ash, that means Na2CO3, are added to hard water which reacts with calcium and magnesium salt so as to form insoluble precipitates of calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide. Okay, this precipitate can be sedimented out in a sedimentation tank. Okay, so in lime soda process, main thing is lime and soda ash are added to hard water that reacts with calcium and magnesium salt. I am discussing just after this about this reaction. Okay, now come to the reaction. First, calcium bicarbonate plus lime, that means calcium hydroxide, gives calcium carbonate as precipitation plus twice H2O. That is, calcium bicarbonate means carbonate hardness of calcium. Okay, now carbonate hardness of magnesium. Magnesium bicarbonate plus calcium hydroxide, that means lime, gives calcium bicarbonate plus MgOH whole 2, that is magnesium hydroxide precipitation. Okay, also magnesium carbonate plus calcium hydroxide gives the precipitation of magnesium hydroxide plus calcium carbonate precipitation. Okay, next is magnesium chloride, that means non-carbonate hardness of magnesium. So first is carbonate hardness of calcium, next is carbonate hardness of magnesium, these two, and now non-carbonate hardness of magnesium, MgCl2 plus calcium hydroxide, that means lime, gives us the precipitation of magnesium hydroxide plus CaCl2. Magnesium sulfate, again non-carbonate hardness of magnesium, that means permanent hardness, plus lime gives us the precipitation of magnesium hydroxide plus calcium sulfate. Okay, next is carbon dioxide, that is free dissolved carbon dioxide, plus lime gives the precipitation of calcium carbonate plus H2O. Next, calcium carbonate, that means non-carbonate hardness of calcium. Calcium carbonate plus soda ash, that means Na2CO3, gives the precipitation of calcium carbonate plus twice NaCl. Calcium sulfate plus soda ash, that means non-carbonate hardness of calcium plus Na2CO3, gives the precipitation of calcium carbonate plus Na2SO4. Okay, so from the above reaction, it can be easily seen that lime helps in removing entire carbonate hardness caused by calcium and magnesium as well as non-carbonate hardness caused by calcium and magnesium. Okay. So this is the main reaction for lime soda process. Next is zeolite or base exchange or cation exchange process for removing hardness. This is also permanent hardness removal. Here, what is the reaction? This is the sodium zeolite, that means Na2Z. Okay. Here actually what happened? The zeolites or resins have the excellent property of exchanging their cations, and hence during softening operation the sodium ions of zeolite get replaced by the calcium and magnesium ions present in hard water. This is the reaction Na2Z plus calcium and magnesium, that is salt, calcium magnesium salt. It may be calcium hydroxide, it may be calcium sulfate, it may be calcium carbonate, or it may be magnesium hydroxide, magnesium sulfate, magnesium chloride. So sodium zeolite plus calcium or magnesium salt produces sodium salt which cannot cause hardness. That means hardness is being removed. Na2HCO3, Na2SO4 or Na2Cl2. That means 2NaCl. Okay. And it replaces calcium and magnesium ion of zeolite and produces calcium or magnesium zeolite. Okay. So ultimately this permanent hardness is being removed. Mind it that water of zero hardness can be obtained by this process. This zeolite process, water of zero hardness can be processed, whereas in soda lime process recarbonation is must for the post treatment, but here no post treatment is required. So this is the difference between zeolite and lime soda process. And the last one is demineralization process for removing hardness. So by name you can understand that demineralization means removing the minerals from water. Okay. And how it is being removed? This complete removal of minerals present in water can be carried out by first passing the water through a bed of cation exchange resins and then through a bed of anion exchange resins. Okay. Only you should remember this process. None of this will be required for this PSC AJE or SSC JEE exam. Okay. So what is this? That first passing the water through a bed of cation exchange and then through an anion exchange. So all the mineral will be removed. I mean by this process we can get demineralized water, that means the distilled water. Okay. So friends, this is the video for the purification of water supplies last part. Okay. I think all you are enjoying my videos and this is very much fruitful to you if you are following these videos. Okay. And gradually I will upload more and more videos for the preparation of your PSC AJE exam or SSC JEE exam. Okay. And if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe my channel so that you will get the notification for the upcoming videos. And please share this video to your friend so that maximum people will be benefited. Also please comment in the comment section, in the box, comment box, if you have any doubt or you have any requirement for any subject. Okay. So next time I will try to fulfill your demand. Okay. So that's all for today. We'll come next day with another video. So thank you very much and all the best for your future endeavor.